When Maurice was nervous, he had trouble urinating. Growing up, he would run into the restroom every day after school and try going before his bus left. But the rush always made it impossible for him to go. So Maurice would have to give up and hold it until he got home an hour later. One day, Maurice missed his bus. That night, his father beat him for it. One day, while cleaning out his car, Herman found a decayed, severed foot. And he had no idea which one of his victims it had belonged to. At night, when he looked up at the sky, Herman saw the stars rearrange and spell out names. He believed this was the cosmos instructing him on who to kill. Maurice was an automobile mechanic who took it upon himself to put an end to Herman's cool reign of torture and murder. For the most part, he was confident in his ability to do so. After all, he had owned his machine gun for almost a week now, having practiced with it every day after work at his cousin Benny's place outside of town. To his shame, Maurice was rather passive-aggressive in nature, and he saw this as a chance to finally prove his worth as a man. However, when his opportunity was gold, he was too nervous to pull the trigger and directly confront Herman, so he decided to put off the big moment for as long as possible. At night, when he looked up at the sky, Maurice saw the stars rearrange and spell out names. He believed this was the cosmos instructing him who to save. A sense of betrayal crept into Herman's mind and laid eggs. After hearing Maurice talk about the stars, he was now unsure of whose side the cosmos was really on. Was the cosmos telling him who to kill, or Maurice who to save? The Jehovah's Witness realized he was fucked unless he could somehow convert Herman. So he preached away, telling him about God's promise of eternal life and how all Herman had to do was repent and his sins would be forgiven. That night, as he replayed his arguments for the existence of God in his head, the Jehovah's Witness realized his reasons for believing were based entirely on his fear of death. This troubled him, as he did not consider these to be adequate reasons. As a result, for the first time in his life, he questioned his faith.
Dear Lord, first off, I'd like to thank you once again for taking the time to listen to me. I know you're real busy these days fighting terrorists and all, but the other day when I was confessing my sins, I think I forgot one. When I was a little boy, my daddy took me deer hunting for the first time. We came across a large group of deer and I shot at them, but only hit the baby, killing it instantly. All the other deer ran off except the mama deer. She kept nudging the dead baby, trying to get it to get up and run. I had never seen anything like it before. When we got home that night, I couldn't stop thinking about those deer. Later on, I masturbated for the first time. I'm not sure if Jehovah's Witnesses are allowed to jerk off or not. I don't know. The internet's down, so I can't look it up. But I'd like to apologize for it just in case. Amen.
The bowman had no idea who the dead body was in his trunk or where he came from. But he didn't have time to worry about it. After all, he only had 24 hours until the next taping of his cable access talk show.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Bone Man Show.
Every week, the Bone Man interviewed a different member of the Columbia, Missouri community.
Well, Pat, what kind of things do you like to do for fun?
I like to take chicken pictures. Pictures of chickens.
Chicken pictures?
Yes. People that have chickens love their chickens.
Really?
Yes.
His next guest was to be a man from the future known as Time Travel Bill.
Hello, Time Traveler Bill. The Bone Man. How you doing? Oh, I'm just fine. The reason I'm calling is I wanted to make sure we were still on for the interview tomorrow. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I'll see you at 6 o'clock, 1405 East Broadway, in the basement. Uh-huh. Great. We'll see you later. Goodbye.
Rather than report the dead body to the police, the Bone Man elected to stash it in his basement, knowing full well someone might be setting him up for murder. However, the Bone Man really didn't care, and only vaguely justified the decision in his head. The Bone Man made an online event page for the taping of his next show. No one was attending. He messaged people, but no one replied.
Hey, Johnny boy. How you doing? It's the Bone Man. Oh, right, yeah, I know. Oh, man. What have you been doing? Not much, huh? Okay, yeah. Well, the reason I'm calling, I could really use a favor. You think you could help me in the studio tomorrow? Got some interviews. From 5 to 7. 5 to 7. Oh. Really? Oh, man, okay. Not gonna work for you. Oh, I don't know what to do. I'll figure something out. Yeah, we'll catch up real soon. We'll talk to you later. Son of a bitch!
The Bone Man was never fully satisfied with his work, and would often go back and re-edit old episodes of his talk show. Recently, he had discovered a website where he could download public domain videos and music for free. So he decided to go back through his old interviews and re-edit them using new footage and music.
This one here, this is my favorite.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and Lizzie had this egg given to her, and she sat on the egg and hatched it, and then protected that little chick for the rest till the chicken was big enough to be protected its own self.
And are these your chickens?
No, they're not. They belong to friends of mine.
Okay.
But they've given permission.
They are consenting adult chickens.
Yes.
This is completely legal.
That's right. And here's another one.
This one's beautiful.
The coloring is great.
Do you just use like natural lighting?
Yes, I just use natural light.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yep.
At any moment, the Bone Man believed the police were going to kick in his door and arrest him for murder. He accepted his fate even though he was completely innocent.
My name is Orville. Where's my dead body?
Oh, what? Damn it. What? What? Hello? Oh, damn it. Come on. Oh. Dollar Bill. Bowman. You just called me. Call me back. Damn. What? Hurry up! Hello? Yeah. $5 bill. Yeah, how are you? Oh, me? I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah, the show, right? You what? You want to keep your identity a secret? Blur out your face and... Geez, maybe, it'll just be weird. I'll be, the viewers, they really need a face to relate with. Know what I mean? Yeah, okay. I'll see what I can do. Yeah, see you then. Fuck. Oh. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Bone Man Show. I am your horribly handsome host, and in case you can't tell, I'm single. So I've been browsing all these dating websites on the internet, and I found one for farmers only. You know, because those city folk just don't get it. Oh man, it'd be funny if there were cops on there that are posing as sheep or pigs or other livestock. My first guest today is from the future. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Time Traveler Bill. Hey, great having you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
First things first, why do they call you Time Traveler Bill?
Because I time travel.
All right. Well, what do you got there? Looks like you brought something to read to us.
This is my suicide note.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
Dear the Internet and Bone Man, there's an old belief that says, when you die, you return to the earth for one day each year, going backwards in time. For example, today it's February 5th, 2015. But when I wake up tomorrow morning, it'll be February 5th, 2014. Then 2013, 2012. Or at least that's how it works when you commit suicide. The last time I saw my mother was when I was 13 years old, the day she left my dad. Traveling backwards through time, I knew I was going to get to see her again. She left him on February 5th, 2010.
Hey, do you have a minute to talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?
On a completely unrelated note, that same day on the other side of town, Herman started his first day of witnessing, going door to door and spreading the word of God. About 20 minutes in, however, he became distracted by the sight of a dead bird and stared at it for 45 minutes. Afterwards, he continued on his way.
When I got to my childhood home that infamous morning, I was just in time to see her sneaking out the front door. I followed her to the park, where she sat down on a bench and stared off into space for about 45 minutes. I wanted to go up to her and start a conversation, but I was too nervous. Afterwards, she got on a plane and went to New York. The flight was sold out, so I had to catch the next one. When I got to New York, I never found her. The next morning, in 2009, I drove to my childhood home just as my mother started out on her morning jog. I followed her to the same park and watched her sit down on the same bench. This time, I forced myself to talk to her. The conversation went surprisingly well. She then said she had to go home, but I convinced her to have dinner with me later on that night. At dinner, when I became comfortable enough to tell her about my depression, her eyes turned sympathetic, and she said she understood. She told me about how unhappy she was in her marriage. All she wanted in life was to be free. Here I was, still a little boy on the inside, all my life longing to have my mother back. And here she was, entrusting me with her secrets and opening her heart to me. I felt like I belonged to her once again. I finally had my mother back after all these years. And she finally had someone she could talk to, who listened to every word she said. Someone who honestly wouldn't judge her no matter what dark fantasies or troubling secrets she revealed. She said it was the first time she ever felt this comfortable with someone so quickly.
But Connie's ready for a stand-in, and evidently Kalina Sue has more trust in Mother's aim than the audience has. It takes a steady eye and a stout heart to heave knives at the apple of your eye. But this female William Tell has no qualms and plenty of faith. A near miss. But this miss says it's as good as a smile. Put yourself in her place. Well, I just tried, but gosh, I'm too bashful.
We decided to go out for ice cream afterwards. As soon as we got into her car, there was a long pause, and then she straddled my lap and kissed me. That night, I fucked my mother in a cheap motel. I didn't want to, but how could I resist? I couldn't risk losing her affection now that I finally had it back. Eventually, I fell asleep and woke up 20 years later, on February 5th, 2030. I was alive again. Later that day, consumed by my newfound afterlife regret, I shot myself in the head for a second time. And once again, I traveled backwards through time. I was determined not to make the same mistake twice. I wasn't successful, though. I know that in 4 days, I'll fuck my mother all over again. How do I know that? Because I've already been through this 19 times now. Over and over, this pattern will repeat itself. Suicide, time travel, mommy sex.
Frustrated by constant rejection, Herman resorted back to his old ways and went looking for revenge on all those who had turned him away. Though he had sworn off of a life of murder in favor of religion, he knew God would understand and forgive him anyway.
Eventually, the guilt will go away. I'll die, only so I can live for that one day and night, when I finally have someone who understands me. All my life I've been alone. This is now the 8th time I've recorded this interview on The Bone Man Show, my post-death video suicide note. In previous videos, I've talked about a lot of different things. The reasons I had for originally killing myself, all the other adventures I've had while traveling backwards in time. Do you know I once met the president? If I fuck up, I can always wait till the next time I kill myself to fix it. But none of it really matters now, except one thing. I've stopped thinking about my father and what I've done to him. My mother leaving him ruined his health, and he eventually drank himself to death. The guilt bothered me for a while, but as I said, I eventually just stopped thinking about him.
Herman struggled with his desires to kill and often relapsed into murder. He begged God for the strength to stay peaceful and believed that if not now, God would one day grant him that strength.
All my life, I've always blamed myself for my parents' divorce, feeling like in some way it was my fault. I guess I was right. Guilt is such bullshit.
After editing the episode for 6 months, the Bone Man decided to give up on his dream of being a cable access television talk show host and elected instead to join the mafia. The Bone Man worked as a debt collector for mob boss Pachico Haas. Anytime someone was late on their payment to Haas, the bowman was sent to collect. His first assignment was Nicole Booth, a woman who borrowed 20 grand in order to write a novel. Unfortunately, she had decided to use it to write a suicide note instead.
To whom it may concern, I don't live a very interesting life, and I don't really have much of a story to tell. But at least I haven't killed myself yet today, so that's something. As it turns out, I also didn't kill myself tomorrow either. After having read over this then, and doing a second draft of it, so that's 2 whole days spent not killing myself, plus the 31 years, 6 months, and 6 days before that. I want to be left alone. I want to die. I want to die. Extra I. Die. Not a scream, but a slow, dull stretching of the word, as if the emotion behind it was slowly snuffing it right along with me. 2 more I's. Die. Actually, that looks stupid. This is now the 4th draft of this letter. There was a lot written in the first 3 drafts that I've cut out. Stuff about the people I've known, mistakes I've made. In the first 2 drafts, I even included a poem I wrote when I was 20 years old, but it lasted only 1 revision before I realized how terrible it was. My brain's broken. It doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. I want to die. I've had enough. This is the 5th draft now of this letter. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put a bullet in my head, and my death will be a mystery the same as my life has been. This letter will never be complete. We both know when I set my pen down, dear reader, more thoughts will flash through my mind. When it's time to go, I'll have to leave you and go be by myself. I'll die alone, without you. And who knows what will happen after I set my pen down. My roommate might come home, and I'll decide to have one last conversation with her. About what? You'll never know. I'll call up my mom and dad and tell them I love them. I might even go out to the bar with a few old friends and have a few last drinks. They won't know it, but that will be my goodbye to them. All the events, people, thoughts, and feelings between this letter and my death will be a mystery to you, trapped in a broken brain that's finally been turned off. I remember when I was 19 years old and I moved to California briefly, and the excitement I felt at the airport, knowing my life was about to change and never be the same. That's what suicide is. It's an airport for razor blades and bullets. I tried to be special. I really did.
Because he was just starting out in organized crime, the bowman was never allowed to communicate directly with mob boss Pashiko Haas. Instead, he received his orders through Handsome Riggs, a mid-level hitman/pimp, or as he liked to think of it, a social facilitator. Handsome was the one responsible for getting the bowman his job in the first place, as he and the bowman had been friends ever since early childhood. Senator Abrams considered himself a ladies' man, and the ladies considered him a paying customer. One such lady was under Handsome's employment. Always one to take chances, Handsome couldn't turn down the opportunity to blackmail a senator. Unfortunately for Handsome, the senator was not the kind of man who responded lightly to blackmail.
Alright, fellas, I just ask one thing. Don't shoot me in the face.
As soon as Handsome returned home that day, he sensed danger lurking elsewhere in the house. Rather than make a run for it, he elected to stay and accept whatever fate awaited him, even though he knew it was certainly death. Maybe it was the cosmos punishing him. After all, he had done a lot of bad things. And who was he to deny anyone, especially the cosmos, their fair share of bloodlust?
Jesus, fuck. I said, don't shoot me in the face.
The bowman's second assignment was to collect 10 grand from a man named Frank Denmore. Unfortunately, as was the case with Nicole Booth, Frank Denmore had also elected to commit suicide that morning in the fashion of Sylvia Plath. In order to compensate for the feelings of inadequacy as men, the bowman and Handsome elected to play a game of Russian roulette with a 10-round 22mm pistol. Neither was really sure how to play. Therefore, they didn't know you were supposed to respin the chamber after each turn.
Who goes first?
You scared?
Am I? Your turn. Oh.
Shit is intense.
I know. Tell me about it. You're up. Are you having fun yet? Oh, I am. It's on you.
I just need a minute. You want a beer?
Yeah. Yeah, why don't you grab me one? Thank you.
Toast. To be a real man.
To be a real man.
Let's fucking do this shit.
That's the spirit. You know, I like you. I like you a lot.
Let's fucking go. Your turn. Your fucking turn.
Seems like we may be running out of chambers here.
Don't fight it. Take it like a man. Don't fight that shit. What?
No! Bullshit! Sit down. You take your turn.
some food.
Do you have any butter? No. It says we need butter. We don't need butter.
Bowman. Wish I had a dad like yours. I could be half the man you are. Bowman. You really are the king of kings.
Stir 1 1/3 cups of hot water, 1 1/2 cup of milk, 2 1/2 tablespoons of butter. I don't need butter.
You gonna live?
Probably not.
A friend and I invented a game where we take turns killing someone and hiding the dead body without telling the other where. We leave clues for the other to follow, and they have 1 week to find the dead body or lose. It's kind of like a treasure hunt. Well, it's my turn to kill someone and hide the dead body, and I've chosen you.
I'm so tired. Death makes me sleepy. I want this to be over. I want to be home.
So, I used to be really fat when I was a little kid. And my dad decided the best way to get me to lose weight was to tell me all the food in the house was poisoned, and only he knew what was safe to eat. That way, he could always choose when and what I ate, and I couldn't sneak any extra meals or snacks behind his back. Well, one day when I was about 7 years old, we were hanging out at home when my dad had a heart attack and died. Now, we lived out in the middle of nowhere. Very, very backwoods. We had no phone, and it was an hour walk into town. So I was kind of stuck there until someone came and found us. After a while, I started to get really, really hungry. And since I thought most of the food in the house was poisoned, I decided it was best just to go ahead and eat my dad. I cut him up with an axe and fried him over the stove. He was pretty good. The thing is, I was a pretty smart kid, and I kind of knew he was lying about all the food in the house being poisoned. After all, he used to get pissed drunk and start ravishing the cabinets helter-skelter. I guess I just really wanted to eat my dad, but I needed an excuse.
I didn't kill my dog. Buster used to run off during the day, and he'd come back at night with 22s in his ass from where the neighbors used to use him for target practice. One night, Buster never came home. I knew the kids whose parents killed Buster, the Sampsons. And when I confronted the Sampson kids at school, they accused me of killing Buster. And then all the other kids started accusing me too. I went home crying. I had just lost my best and only friend, and there was no sympathy for me. Eventually, I started going along with the other kids, saying that I was in fact the one who killed Buster. They laughed at me, but they weren't as mean as before. That became my role. I was the crazy kid who killed his own dog. I used to brag about it and tell all the details, and they'd sit around and laugh. I was dying inside, but it was almost like I had friends. Or if not friends, at least an audience.
After my dad died, I went to live with my grandma. When I was about 9 years old, her diabetes killed her. I remember staring at her dead body and thinking, man, I really want to eat her. But I had no excuse this time. After all, the fridge was completely stocked with completely unpoisoned food. After about a day, however, I convinced myself I probably wouldn't get into too much trouble if I only ate a little bit of her. Like, just as long as I left most of her, it would be alright, and I wouldn't get in trouble with the cops. So, I decided just to eat one of her arms, but only one. Well, it was really good, and that made me want more. So, I decided to eat something else small. I figured, it's just a foot. No one will get mad if I just eat my grandma's foot. So, I ate her foot, but it wasn't very good. Too bony. So I thought, well, that foot wasn't very good. So now I have to eat something else. I'll just take one of her legs. They won't mind. So I ate one of her legs. It was a lot better. Unfortunately, when the cops did find me, they did mind. You gonna live?
Probably not. Eventually, I got called into the principal's office, and they had a talk with my parents. I told my dad the truth, that it was the Sampsons who killed Buster, not me. My dad, he believed me. He knew the Sampsons were worthless, shit-kicking rednecks. The next day, he went to their house and shot all their chickens. I watched. When Mr. Sampson came out to confront him, they got into a shouting match, and my dad beat the shit out of him. And he did it right in front of the Sampson kids. That was the first time I realized I could be strong. That if my dad could handle things, then I could handle them too. I started making fun of the Sampson kids at school and told everyone how my dad made their dad cry. The Sampson kids turned violent, so I turned violent too. When the kids at school started making fun of me, I started hurting them. Sometimes I'd win the fights, sometimes I'd lose, but eventually I started having friends. I was no longer anyone's laughing monkey. I had respect. Violence gave me hope.
very first man I ever killed was out here. Some hiker I ran into. Nice guy. Shot him in the head and left him. A week later, I ran into a second man. An older man who was out here looking for his son, the guy I killed. At this point, I felt pretty bad about killing him, so I threw my gun down and confessed my crime to the old man. Said if he wanted to take his revenge, then to go ahead. The old man looked at me and said, "My boy's dead. Tell me where he is so I can have a preacher say a few words over him and give him a proper burial. But make no mistake, I'm coming for you. I'll kill you, but not without you seeing it coming first. I want you to know that you're going to die, and that every breath you take is going to be one of your last. And after every beautiful thing you see, you'll feel like you didn't see it long enough because now you'll never see it again. And when you die, the last thing you will ever see is a hateful face. I'll be back." For the next 2 days, I grew comfortable with the idea of my own death and accepted it. I'd done a lot of bad things and he deserved justice. However, on the day he showed up to kill me, I saw him before he saw me. And what was I supposed to do? Throw away a perfectly good advantage like that? So I shot him 4 times in the chest, and when I ran out of ammo, I bashed his head in with a rock. I've always been obsessed with violence. Ever since I was about 14 years old and the Columbine massacre happened. The 2 boys who shot up that school scored 10 of their 12 kills in the library. And according to the FBI, they had more than enough ammo to kill the other 40-some-odd hostages in there. But they didn't. They got bored and left and just roamed the hallways for the next half hour. They'd look into classrooms and make direct eye contact with students, but never did anything. They were burnt out. Sometimes I wish I'd shot up my high school like I planned. Has anyone ever shot up their 10-year high school class reunion? I thought about it. Decided it would have been just a pathetic attempt to relive those years.
You're gonna kill me. Kill me.
You're not gonna live for much longer. You're gonna have what you got left. What's the point anyway? Got an extra flashlight if you want it. Alright. Take care.
How'd I get lost?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Bone Man, and I'll be your entertainment for this evening. Have you ever noticed how heavy unconscious or dead bodies are? They're really heavy, especially when you try to move them. I'll bet a Nazi soldier is pushing at least 180 pounds. And in those movies, they're always trying to pull the uniforms off the unconscious soldiers so they can blend in. Good luck trying to find your size. And trying to do that all within 20 minutes and not be discovered. So ridiculous.
You know what the worst part of this is? That was my last cigarette.
I'm so tired. Death makes me sleepy. I want this to be over. I want to be home. But before I go, he goes. Like an animal, I'll become one. I'm so tired. I hate all this waiting. I hate all this period. I feel like I've been through this before. As if existence is playing on one long, continuous loop. The same thing over and over. Repeat, 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 but no shuffle. The same goddamn thing over and over. Repeat, repeat.